All right, can I get you to state your name and spelling and title, sir?
John Saltenberger, John Saltenberger. Title is Fire Weather Program Manager at Northwest Interagency Coordination Center.
All right, John. Forecast is to heat up this upcoming weekend, and it looks like conditions are going to kind of be ripe, especially in the gorge and in the Willamette Valley for maybe some increased fire danger.
Certainly, we're watching our forecast models, and they're all indicating that a large upper ridge of high pressure is going to amplify over the Pacific Northwest, all the way up into Western Canada, and even touch into Alaska as well. So it looks like a pretty strong ridge that's coming our way that'll be building in starting really on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, hanging around through the weekend, and then possibly into next week as well. Some question marks about how long it will last, but certainly for the front end of this thing, we're expecting strong warming and drying that are going to push temperatures well above average, humidities below average, and that will naturally boost fire danger on both sides of the Cascades. Now we are watching the variation of winds across the landscape, and this is one of these patterns where the winds tend to fall off east of the Cascades, even in the traditionally windy spots like the Columbia River Gorge, or eastern part of the Columbia River Gorge, or the Columbia Basin, or Central Oregon. Winds will start moving over into the west side of Oregon and Washington, looks like on the I-5 corridor. So we may have some semi-critical conditions shaping up with windy, dry conditions Thursday or Friday in the Willamette Valley. We're watching that as well. And then the bigger question is as we reach the peak of the heating and the elevation of fire danger for the whole geographic area, then we're going to start watching for the potential for some lightning moving in from California into southern Oregon as early as Saturday, spreading north through Oregon on Sunday, Saturday and Sunday, and then possibly into Washington by Sunday or Monday. It's tracking that moisture is a little difficult this far out, but it looks like the door is open for more lightning to come our way, and that's potentially critical for us because lightning introduced at a time when it's hot and dry means fire starts. If we get too many fire starts at once, then initial attack firefighters can be overwhelmed just by the sheer number of new fire starts, and that boosts the potential of us starting to get some more large, costly type fires on the landscape. So all eyes are on the approaching lightning threat coming in over the weekend and moving northward.
I would be remiss not to ask. Obviously, this pattern looks very similar to what we saw with the Eagle Creek fire as we now get progress from August into September. Any type of danger you're seeing in the Columbia River Gorge? You said maybe winds increase on the western side of the.
That's right. We're setting up a pattern that's called a thermal trough, and those tend to reverse the wind. They tend to bring in wind from the east, cross the Cascades through the Columbia River Gorge, so that the windier spots are on the western slopes of the Cascades, and say in the Troutdale area of the Columbia River Gorge, the winds will pick up. Fortunately, it does not appear like these are going to be unusually strong winds or long lasting either, because the way the whole weather pattern is setting up, it certainly is going to be warmer, certainly is going to be drier, but for sustained, very strong east winds, doesn't look like it's in the cards. Nevertheless, we watched it carefully, and one of the effects of this east wind type pattern is not only just the arrival of east winds themselves, but they also mean that overnight relative humidity recovery at higher elevations in the Cascades is poor, which just adds to further elevation of the fire danger day by day as that pattern sets up. So you put your finger on a potential concern. We have a number of them shaping up for the Pacific Northwest, hotter and drier, some east wind showing up, warm and dry during the nighttime hours, and then lightning coming on top of that as we get into the weekend and the first part of next week. This is a watch out situation for the region. I'll be briefing fire managers accordingly.
Uh, how far north does lightning spread? Is it something that we need to worry about, say, in the central Willamette Valley and then even north through Portland up into Southwest Washington?
Yeah, I would say that potential is there. I've seen too many of these large ridges set up in the way that this one is setting up. And while our initial projections indicate that it'll probably just stay in the Cascades, I've seen too many of these things just to limit it to the Cascades. And I think the potential for some lightning at one point or another, probably getting into the Sunday or Monday time frame, I think that potential is there. And getting more lightning strikes in the dense forests on the west side means potential problems for us, especially if it's coming during a hot dry spell. And that certainly looks like it's in the cards for the weekend and the first part of next week.
The fire season to this point obviously has been busy, but nowhere near as busy as we've been in the last few years. That obviously has to be a benefit for firefighters and having available crews.
That's a good point, Bobby. And right now, we measure the regional fire activity for Oregon and Washington on a 5 point scale. It's called preparedness level. And the last few seasons, we've been in preparedness level 4, preparedness level 5, just owing to the fire activity that we've had. This season, we haven't exceeded preparedness level 3, and there's even possible discussion about descending back down to a 2, although that's just tentative at this point. So we have not had the costly, the numbers of fires or the size of fires so far in 2025 that we've had during previous fire seasons. I think the saving grace has been that we've had some wetting rains come in from Pacific frontal system to the atmospheric river that we saw. Plus, east of the Cascades, we saw several rounds of wet thunderstorms that actually decreased fire danger because they brought in enough cloudiness and rain showers to limit the potentially costly effect of lightning strikes.
Let's talk about dry thunderstorms real quick. Obviously, that's a big deal east of the Cascades, especially. But when you talk about these wetting rains, and we talk about fuel moisture levels, how much can a wet thunderstorm actually change the the fuel on the ground in terms of wetting it and keeping it, say, wet enough that it doesn't ignite, say, if it's hit by lightning?
Yeah, so that's good. When we get heavy rain from thunderstorms, two things we take into account is the amount of rain, but the duration makes a difference too. An inch of rain that comes over several hours is more effective than, say, an inch of rain that comes in 1 hour. To use an extreme example. If it lasts even longer than that, it's beneficial for wetting down a forest or brushland to the point where new lightning strikes, certainly they will cause fires. Fire crews are going to get busy looking for those things and stamping them out. But it also means the fuels become moist enough that rapid spread of new fires is less likely, and therefore fire crews have the time to get on top of them before they get out of hand.
You might not know the answer to this, and just kind of a throwing a question out there. Any idea on the actual number of starts or strikes? Is there a ratio where the more lightning, the more strikes you're going to see, or is it something that's just kind of
Excellent, and that's what I hope to actually present in the fall at Oregon AMS. But the question can be answered is that the drier the background conditions are, the higher the fire danger, the fewer the number of lightning strikes is required to create a say sufficient number of fires to overstress initial attack firefighters. Even during wet thunderstorms, we get fire starts. They happen. Trees hit, they burn. Firefighters have the time to find them and put them out. But the greater the number of strikes and the drier it is, the more likely we're going to have problems with fires that get out of hand. And we use measures of fire danger to anticipate that.
we talked previously in July and now August about the outlook for the remainder of the season, both Oregon and Washington, highest level extreme chance for a large fire growth. Are we still seeing that in the setup?
Yeah, we are. We're gonna hang tough with our projection of elevated potential for large, costly fires in the Pacific Northwest. Note that it's natural for us to get fires, even large fires, in the Pacific Northwest during fire season. But we're hanging with our projection to keep the potential for even more than normal large fires in our forecast right through September. We think the rains that we've had have been beneficial, but we're still in August. We still have probably a dry September to come. So we're going to hang tough with our projection for most of the region to be an elevated potential for large, costly fires.
One thing, obviously, is a lot of people in the Pacific Northwest, especially in Oregon and Washington, we've seen fires in the gorge. Eagle Creek kind of really woke a lot of people up, but we've seen a lot of costly fires, man-made and natural. Is the gorge an area now that we're kind of starting to shift focus and look at in terms of, yes, we know it's an active rainforest, but it is a place that we need to be significantly concerned of large wildfires going forward?
Yeah, certainly that's the case. Its susceptibility to the windy conditions, either coming from one direction or another, make that the area is primed to have large fires get big quickly when we do get starts. It's not an area that's particularly prone to lightning starts, uh, especially during west wind events, because the atmosphere doesn't really support much potential for lightning during west wind events or even east wind events either. So it tends to be humans that are the primary cause of large costly fires in the Columbia River Gorge. That's also true around other populated areas as well. Humans are a predominant or equal cause amount for lightning. Let's say in the backcountry, the ratios are a little bit less sure. We can get human caused starts in the backcountry, but we can get plenty of lightning starts as well. Trouble with those is that from whether they're human caused starts or lightning caused starts in the backcountry, they're difficult to get to. It takes firefighters time to get out there and deal with it. So it's a different set of problems depending upon proximity to high concentrations of population.
What is the one message people should take away about our upcoming weekend weather once it gets hot? What should they be on the lookout for?
Yeah, I always tell people pay attention to Smokey's message. You can help prevent forest fires, and that means paying attention to local use restrictions, fire restrictions, and campgrounds and recreation areas, so that every nuisance fire that firefighters have to deal with in a campground from a campfire that shouldn't have been there in the first place or was improperly extinguished. That's one less fire in the wild country that they won't be able to get to. So the number of human-caused fires, accidental fires that we can reduce, frees up firefighters to deal with more serious fires elsewhere. So really be careful with fire.
All right, that's part of it.